I think if we just look forward of and do things for you on your behalf, right? Think of it like opening a bank account or applying for a job for you. And this is not too far away, we think. So the key thing is be prepared, because AI isn't replacing your job, but someone actually who uses AI will. For those of you who have not yet heard about Para, we develop recruitment, development, and performance solutions. And next to that, we also have our Para Labs, which we do advanced research on AI and how that relates to performance in teams and companies. All because we want people to be recognized for what they actually will contribute in jobs, rather than what they look like, what they've done in the past, or what chances they had in their lives. That being said, let's start the battle. Round one is really about attracting versus searching. Actually, the first phase in recruitment. And what we want to do is to give you really real live examples on how Anne-Pauline and Marion use ChatGPT. So Anne-Pauline, first question to you. We'll start off with you. In the process of attracting talent, what does take most of your time?
Well, actually, what takes up the most of my time is to research my target audience. So you have to know really everything about the profile that you are looking for. So what does this person, what makes him or her tick? What will be a nice hook in your vacancy text to attract exactly the right profile? So that is where most of my time goes into, because if you have this stellar vacancy text with exactly the correct hooks and the right wording that will appeal to this profile, you will have a more qualitative income of the in-stream of your candidates. So that is where most of my time goes into. And actually, I've used ChatGPT to see if he could help me with pinpointing the profile and what makes him or her tick. So I will not show you that example, but I can tell you the result is rather generic and I really could not use it because basically it will give the same results for profiles that are more or less alike. Or even not alike. So it cannot tell you the right order of the hooks that you could use. So you would really have to do your own research and maybe buy a membership with a data platform. I don't do that. I just do a lot of research there using a bit of ChatGPT, but in the end, the result is my own research. So that is where the time goes. And then after that, I go and build my vacancy text with the results. So Rina, I don't know if you have any questions for me about researching the target groups.
Yeah,
because otherwise,
yeah, maybe it's good to, well, no, I think you wanted to really show us in ChatGPT, right, how you build this vacancy text once you've done the research. So let's dive into chat.
All right. So I will go and share my screen. I have been looking for an office manager in this case. So let me show you. So what I do when I use ChatGPT is give as much context as I can, because if you don't give enough context to ChatGPT, the result that you get will be rubbish. So it's really rubbish in, rubbish out. So give a lot of context. See ChatGPT as your personal assistant or your trainee and give lots and lots of details. So that is what I did to say, hey, this will be an office manager in a company that does PVC flooring. So it's a really niche market in building. So I described the whole thing. She will be there amongst 20 men. You could say she will be the mother of the office, strict but fair. And that requires a certain strong woman. So and I asked ChatGPT to show me the words that will appeal to this profile. So exactly that is what it did. If you can see, I will scroll down.
See it. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it shows you what you can use in your vacancy text that will appeal to this strong woman, but you will really have to describe the profile that you are looking for really well. And it shows you what you can use in the text, actually. I thought it was a bit too generic. So I said, well, what I'm asking for is a list with words that I should use to attract this strong woman for this job. And then it did that. So sometimes you have to ask and re-ask and ask a little deeper. So here is what it says. And then I think it's rather okay what it gives.
So how did you then curate this? Because I can imagine there is 15 things, right? Can you then even go deeper?
Exactly. So here another list, and I also asked it, can you tell me which ones are the most important for this profile and which are less important? You see here what words will appeal to her the most. So, but then again, it's a whole list. And then what I do is I put it next to the profile that I'm looking for, and I strike the words that I think that are not so important. And that leaves me with a couple of words that really are important. And then what I do is really write my own vacancy text. Because ChatGPT, if you ask ChatGPT to write your vacancy text, then the result is not to my liking. So
why not?
It's too generic. You see, it's ChatGPT who made the text because there's lots of similar things in the texts. I tried several ones. You immediately recognize it's this really over polite text. Yeah, I don't like it, and it will not appeal to the people that you are looking for, because they also will have a feeling, wow, what is this text? It's so politically correct, shall we say. So that is why I choose to write my own text. And what I do then is I feed it into ChatGPT and ask it to write it better, but without changing anything really to the text. And then what it does, it ups the game really of my text.
Mm-hmm.
And then I mostly have a stellar text, but it really is my own text that I write. And I can advise everyone, please keep on writing your own text.
So you use it basically as input and to curate and to understand what people for a certain role would be attracted to in terms of wording.
Exactly. And what I also use it for is to tell me what kind of picture I could use that will appeal to the profile. I can show you that actually if you want.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I asked it, thanks, do you have a good idea for an image to put in my vacancy ad campaign that will appeal to this strong woman? And then it gives you an answer. I thought it to be a bit too generic, so I re-asked and re-asked until I think, yes, this is a good idea for picture. And what I then do is I will copy it into Dolly. And Dolly is, of course, another open AI solution. And I will see if I can show you that.
Yes.
Do you see my screen?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Yeah, here it is. Try Dolly. It's a part. It's a part of OpenAI, so you can just enter, and then I will show you the history because I've obviously already done it. Even kijken. Here it is, history. So what I did was I entered the text that ChatGPT gave me here. I copied it into Dolly, And this is what it gave me as a result. Yeah, and then if you click such a picture, yeah, you can use it really in your ad campaign. Yes. So that's how I construct my vacancy text, and to give me inspiration on pictures that I could use in a vacancy ad campaign.
Interesting. And if you now look at, because I mean, you've obviously been at the forefront for a while in terms of leveraging different technologies, etc. Since ChatGPT was introduced and you've been leveraging this, for example, in creating vacancy text and nice visuals, how much time do you think has it helped you to reduce, I would say, in the process? And maybe also have you seen, let's talk value, have you seen an increase in terms of relevant profiles because you did it in such a way compared to what you did in the past?
Yes. Well, obviously, it really does help me, because I'm one of those recruiters who believes that you have to put all your time in the front of the whole recruitment process, because the better your research on the profile, the better your vacancy text, the better the quality of the incoming candidates will be. And ChatGPT really helps me here. Although it cannot really give me the right results, I use it as a sort of an assistant to give me input and to give me real new inspiration. Oh, yeah, that is also something I could have a look at. So it really does save me time, because usually I had to go into all these different websites to help me pinpoint the target group and help me write the vacancy text. Usually what I did was have a look at vacancy texts of similar vacancies with competitors. I don't do that anymore, actually. So ChatGPT really helps me to refine my text. So, well, let's say it saves me an hour there. Yes.
Nice. I think we should, thank you. So guys, pay attention, because we're also gonna ask your vote who wins this battle, this particular round. We're moving to the candidate side. Marion, or maybe we should actually ring the bell. Do we have a bell? Yeah, we have a bell. Okay, we're still in round one. Marion, we move to you. So some background. You moved from Ireland to the Netherlands in search, of course, for a new job when you got here. And obviously not only a new job, you wanted the right job. So how did you leverage ChatGPT in the search and the research for the job that you would like to find?
Thank you. So I started looking at account executive roles. I heard about ChatGPT. So I'm going to share my screen, and I was a little, I guess, quite a high overview at the beginning. So I'm going to see at the very top, I had asked it. One moment.
You've been chatting away, I see.
Yeah, I got a lot of information. So I was quite generic at the beginning, went straight in and asked for account executive interview prep. Then I did get the next points here that you can see below. So very generic, but also very, very helpful. I then dived further and I put in the para job spec to help me exactly with that role and see how it could help with interview prep, as well as looking at the job spec. So from there, I then got even further and I asked it a little bit more in depth about focusing on recruitment startups in the Netherlands, apart from what they've already told me. So then it was really good information around looking at the Dutch recruitment market, the labour laws in the Netherlands, and emphasising on your network and connections and things like that. So I find that really helpful and helped me dig in on how to look at job specs and really hone in on what I need to research and focus on for interview prep and roles.
And so how did you use this practically? So if you had to take out one element from what Chat told you, which one was most?
Yes. So definitely really tailoring the job spec and really focusing on the words that they're using. And then as well, helping you prepare questions. So being really thoughtful around that element and brushing up in industry knowledge per role as well was very, very beneficial, especially moving country and moving away from bigger corporations into startups and really focusing on what I needed for them and the difference in that as well.
Got it. And then, of course, you're excellent at LinkedIn. So you know, one of many, the value of having an attractive, appealing LinkedIn profile, particularly when you're looking for a job.
Yes.
So switching gears from, let's say, the initial preparation and research that you did to prepare yourself to understand what kind of questions to ask in an interview process, what kind of companies would suit you. Now moving to leveraging that to create an attractive LinkedIn profile. How do you do that? Because it also needs to be super personalized, right? It's not anybody, it's you.
Definitely.
How do you do that?
Yes, so here I went in and I started ChatGPT asking for help from my LinkedIn profile. I said I was currently a sales executive in the Netherlands. I told them that I had a HR degree as well as working in recruitment. And then I said that I was a senior development rep in LinkedIn as well as an account executive in DocuSign. So they did give me this letter and it wasn't exactly what I was looking for. So in the next part of it, I said that I wanted it for the About Me piece in LinkedIn to make it that bit more personal. And I felt that that really helped me because I shared what I had put in already and it really developed it further and used my type of style of writing. And I was really, really happy with that. And it definitely saved some time. And I was really, really impressed with what I got from that side.
I think the way ChatGPT works is that you can actually give prompts, right? In terms of, okay, it needs to be for this and this audience, this many words. I like to have a writing style that is cheerful, personalized, etc. And you give those inputs to ChatGPT to actually create more personalized content, particularly geared towards your target group.
Correct. And you can really delve further and you can keep asking more questions without getting the same information that you already got. So it could be very, very helpful in that side of things. And I love that I can do it like your writing style as well. It makes that like a little bit of a personal touch as well.
Super cool. And if I ask you, because again, the audience has to make a decision who wins this battle, how much time did this save you if you compared it to what you've usually would done? Or maybe even better, did it lead to more valid job hunting requests in your inbox?
Yeah. So time-wise, I'd say definitely in the hours, maybe a 2 hours saving in those two areas, maybe an hour each. And then I definitely think it helped with my preparation. I didn't get lost in what I had to look for. I very much focused on the list that ChatGPT provided. So that would have saved time in all of my prep as well. So I'd say that was definitely a couple of hours saving as well as being really, really helpful.
And did it lead to better inflow of requests?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I definitely got more calls, I felt. Maybe the market got a little bit more busy at the time, but I definitely think that it helped with my profile and being reached out to more.
Interesting. Okay, audience, participants, let's have a poll because we need to decide for this round who actually won. So who's the winner of the round? Recruiter, candidate, or it's a tie? Please vote. I hear you're still voting. Very curious though.
I tried to vote, but it didn't let me.
Oh, you can't. You're not allowed.
No.
Who would you have voted for though?
Who do you think?
We're still voting. We're done. Okay, let's have a look. Ooh, sorry.
Yeah, see, my vote was really necessary there.
Yeah,
Absolutely, but it wouldn't have made the difference though. So we do see that the candidate actually won.
very close to being a tie.
Exactly, very close to the tie, 2% difference. I see that someone has issued with the bell to round 2. There we go. We go to selecting versus applying. So now we move first to Marion, the candidate. Some companies still ask for a resume and motivation letter. You wonder why. However, how did you use ChatGPT to write a personalized motivation letter? Could you help us and show us that?
Yes. So I was, again, very generic. I feel I'm always quite generic at the beginning, and then I delve further with what I need. So very straightforward. I just straight in just asked, can I have a motivation letter? But then ChatGPT came back to me wanting more details for me to be more specific. So then I said a sales executive role in a startup based in the Netherlands, because that was the 3 main focus areas that I wanted. So I did get a letter, but I felt it was very generic, very more professional maybe than what people would write, like not the way I wrote. So then I just gave a little bit of my own personal style, get a little bit of background of who I was and what I did. And then it gave me a little bit of a better, more personal touch here. And I liked the way it was broken into the different paragraphs of what I've done, about my degree, about my previous roles. And then as well, what I currently was doing, what type of person I am, personality wise, and then a little bit about why I was drawn to a company. So it definitely helped me a little bit here in terms of the layout. I didn't want to copy it exactly because I feel like it would be quite obvious that it was from ChatGPT, but it definitely helped in the layout and some of the wording and sentences, but I changed it to my own way when I did end up using this.
And interestingly, I think you can also train ChatGPT on, let's assume that you've written motivation letters in the past, right? You can also kind of copy paste them in and train ChatGPT on the personal style that you use and the words that you choose to actually optimize the letter, isn't it?
Yes, correct. So I did actually put a little piece in, not a huge amount of motivation letter, but I did put in a little piece of what I did and in my writing style.
Yeah. Hey, Anna-Pauline, moving to the recruiter, I've seen a lot of LinkedIn posts lately about recruiters actually complaining about the fact that they receive motivation letters that are basically very similar.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's harsh to say, but motivational letters for me, yeah, they just don't work. Maybe it depends on the role. Because if I'm hiring someone for a commercial role, say, you would have to be able to sell yourself, because if you cannot sell yourself, how can you sell a product or a service from a company? That is a moment when I take a look at a motivational letter. But yeah, everybody knows what a motivational letter looks like, and there's not lots of people who can write a really good motivational letter. And moreover, yeah, what does it really say about the person? I mean, I'd rather have a look at a CV or a good assessment to see what is really the potential of this person. Selling him or herself, yeah, okay, everybody does that in a motivational letter. So there's more and more vacancies actually where they do not ask for a motivational letter anymore.
And how do you then use your mentioning the CV? How do you then use CV information in ChatGPT?
Yeah, so what I did, I will show you on my screen. Let's see, where are you? Over there. Yeah. So what I did was the following. I fed my vacancy actually into ChatGPT. So I text in ChatGPT, the whole shebang. And then what I did, because it was already saying something, hey, it looks like you're looking for this and that. And I said, yeah, stop generating. I'm not finished yet. I now will send you a CV that I have received. And actually, that was a CV of Marion. So I fed it into the system and I asked it, if you look at the vacancy and if you look at this CV, what do you think? But it already gave me, as you can see, some observations. So it gave me her strengths, sales experience, communication and interpersonal skills, team collab, and it gave me her relevant experience. And I thought, hey, that's cool. So this is a quick way of screening a CV and matching it onto the vacancy. So I was really happy with that already. And then I thought, okay, maybe I can ask something more. And I asked, okay, if you would have to estimate in what percentage this candidate matches onto this position, what percentage would that be? And I know ChatGPT because I work with it for quite some time now. So I added, I understand it's an estimation and not a guarantee, because otherwise it will say something like that. Yeah. So, and I was really curious what it would give me. And I was like, okay, it will not say anything about a percentage, but it actually did. It says, well, approximately 75 to 80% match. So I thought, okay, well, that is really interesting. Because if he does that with every CV that I get, and suppose I get a lot, I can immediately maybe weed out the lower scoring candidates. But actually, if you read what it gives you, yeah, you'd still have to be critical yourself, because you would really have to dive deeper, because what does ChatGPT know? A human knows more. If it is all about capabilities, potential of a candidate, ChatGPT cannot see that. Also not from a piece of paper, because that's what a CV is, right?
Basically, and we will get to that in a second, of course, you can train for a candidate side, you can actually use keywords that you might be looking for, right? So the question really is, how relevant is this information?
Yes, that is the question. How relevant is this? It gives me a shot in the dark. That's what it is. Yeah.
Well, it kind of maps what somebody wrote on a piece of paper to what we wrote on a piece of paper in a job description.
Yes.
So we'll dive into that in a second on, okay, this part, at least you can do it far faster, I would say, than doing it by hand and going through these papers one by one, or using keyword search, but actually feeding it to ChatGPT and asking, and the percentage of relevance at least goes much faster. Moving away from CVs to the assessment phase, Marion, there's many assessments out there, and we wanted to check how well ChatGPT scores actually on these assessments. So
yeah,
you've been doing that, right? Can you show us how you use ChatGPT?
Sure. This actually, this is quite an interesting one. I had a cognitive assessment to do, and I figured I would get ChatGPT to help me. So what the results actually came out of it were that I had asked 16 questions and 12 of them were correct. So I ended up scoring 75% on this assessment. I'll scroll down here so you can get an example of some of the things that I'd asked. So I'll go to a shorter one. So this one, chapter is to book as question mark is to month. Then you can see the answer they gave me there. So the relationship between chapter and book is that chapter is part of a section of a book, etc., etc. So that was very interesting that they didn't get it completely right. So I did end up with 75%. So I would have been intrigued to see if I did it myself, what I would have got as well. But that was, I guess, a little bit helpful, but definitely didn't get me to the 100%. So that was interesting to show that it's not always correct.
Interesting though, but you can actually feed these standardized tests into ChatGPT to help you get the answers, right?
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. But do you know now whether the job that you're applying for actually suits you? Did you get that information from doing this? Or whether you will drive impact?
Yeah, it definitely helped, but I think you really have to go with your own gut and your own thoughts on this, because you're the person in the role. Using ChatGPT can be quite I wouldn't use it for everything, that's for sure.
All right, but at least you got to a high score. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Anna-Pauline, how do you view this from a recruiter side? Because lots of companies are using assessments. So
Yes.
how do you make the right choice now that ChatGPT is out there?
Yes, exactly. Because that's, I mean, if you see what Marion just did, if she would do that with one of my assessments, I mean, I know obviously ChatGPT is out there, so I'm really aware of this coming in. And the thing is, it would be really a shame if we would match this candidate onto the job and then later find out that the person is really totally different than what the assessment results showed me. And that can really lead to a mismatch, making everybody unhappy, including the new employee. So costing everybody a lot of energy, a lot of money, and everybody being unhappy. So yeah, I wouldn't do that if I were you as a candidate, because yeah, it might match you onto a job that doesn't suit you.
Yeah, and I think
it's essentially
this is where I think you wanted to come in on, okay, how do we actually know, right, if a candidate is a good fit for the job? Because
exactly.
what you want to understand is how likely is the candidate to drive impact after being hired in the organization.
Exactly. So this was the pair assessment that Marion did, which gives you a lot of good information on the potential of the candidate. So we don't look at the CV, we have a look at this assessment is being made and the outcome. And then what you really see is the predictiveness of how good someone is at certain competencies and how well she, in this case, will do in the role with the competencies needed for this role. So this gives me a lot of surer facts, really, to rely on to see what is the potential of this candidate for this role. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe to clarify, Marion, what did you actually had to do?
Yes, so I was asked 3 open-ended questions and I had 100 characters per question, and I had to fill out an example perhaps of a previous task I did in a job. And then when I did that, I had no time constraint for it. I could save it and come back to it later. And this was the report that it generated.
Interestingly, but then everyone probably in the audience is wondering, and what happens if you use ChatGPT? Well, let's have a look. So maybe important to explain is that in this assessment, basically, the answers are being assessed based on 200 markers in your answers, and they're mapped to data that has been collected over 7 years of employees that have been performing, so that are high performers in their job, both in the competencies that they have shown to their peers and their managers, but also how these competencies actually relate to an output. So for example, in commercial success, that would be revenue contribution. In Fit for Future, it would mean, you know, the level of innovation that you come up with. It could be related to candidate or employee experience if we talk about success in HR roles. So it's really looking for competencies that relate and correlate with an actual outcome once in the job. And so you can imagine if you follow employees across their life journey, you can actually see how well they perform. And that's the data taken into consideration. Now, looking at what ChatGPT produced. So this data, by the way, is available on our website. But what we did was actually, we have a curated set of around 400 to 500 different interview questions. The more personalized, the better, actually. And these are open-ended questions that candidates or employees answer. And we asked ChatGPT a subset, I think around 20 different questions at different timings to answer. And we ran them through what we call the periscope. So the intelligence that we've built up over all these years. And actually the outcome is what you see here. So here you see the distribution from 0 to 100. 100 is a perfect match rate on the competencies that we measure across different benchmarks. And we actually found that the distribution is quite high. So there is the chances and the likelihood that you score high or low based on the answers of the questions, the answers given by ChatGPT is quite high, that range. So the likelihood whether you're match or not, is similar. So you never know. So the point here is not about using ChatGPT. The point here is about sharing your own vision, your own ideas, etc. Because if you use chat, you might actually fail or you might actually be chosen. The point here is you want to be chosen for the job where you strive. I stop sharing. Now, I think that will bring us to the end of round 2, and we have to hurry up if I look at the time. So guys, let's poll. Who won in round 2? The recruiter, the candidate, or is it a tie? You can all vote. I hope it works. This time for everyone. Okay. We're still voting, I hear. All righty. We're ending it. Ah, the recruiter won.
Yeah.
You're the recruiter one. Nice. So 46%, 40% for the candidate, and the rest was a tie. Well, so we're even. We're in a tie right now. So we have a last round. We have a last round, which is actually negotiation. Let's ring the bell. There we go. Okay, in this last round of negotiation, we've now searched, we applied, we assessed, we selected. Now both come together to actually negotiate about getting started. Anne-Pauline, one of the key things, of course, in negotiation is always about salary levels. How do I define the right salary level, the right package, etc. Particularly now in a candidate market, it depends, of course, always on whether it's a candidate market or it's a company market. But how do you know what the right salary level is?
Yes.
And do you use ChatGPT for this?
So I will start with sharing my screen to show you what ChatGPT gave me as information on salary. I just went onto this role of the sales executive or the commercial business development rep because I already had all this information in there, so it could rely on that. So I will show you. You also see I asked 10 good questions to ask in an interview as a recruiter. That can also really be helpful. But then I asked, okay, do you know what salary range would match for this position and or person in the Netherlands? So I thought, well, I'm specific enough. And then it gave me a number. But that number that you see, it just copied out of the vacancy text that I fed it with earlier. And I was like, yeah, you are cheating, ChatGPT. So I just told it, you now mentioned the salary that I put in my vacancy text, but I'm looking for what the average salary is on the Dutch labor market for this position. Oh, and then it apologizes, of course. And then it gave me this range and it says 45,000 to 70,000 per year. Okay, well, that's too wide a range for me, guys. So yeah, it really could not help me with pinpointing salary. I already knew that, of course. So let me see what I asked it further. If you see the CV of this candidate I sent you earlier, what would you pay her as a salary? What did it say? Well, it really does not answer. So you will really have to do your own research on all these platforms that everybody goes to. Think like Glassdoor, Intermediair, Salaris, Kompas, Werkzoeken. Nationale Beroepengids, Wolters People, Indeed, well, all these platforms that you can get salary information from, and then put it all next to your own salary and function house if you have one, to be sure, okay, this is the right salary. And you can, of course, compare it with salary levels that competitors give in their vacancy texts. But Glassdoor is really a good platform that can help you.
Got it. So actually ChatGPT was not very useful. No.
Nope.
Now, Marion, you know, you could argue that knowing the research, women usually get underpaid compared to men for the same kind of job. So we could actually argue that ChatGPT could help us, you know, give us a more equal position as women. How did you leverage ChatGPT to start your negotiation or to prepare for your negotiation?
Yeah, so as I was from Ireland beforehand, and I lived in Dublin, so that's the capital, and the salary range was quite high there. So I moved to the Netherlands and I wasn't too sure what to expect and what to look out for. And then as well in LinkedIn, I had LinkedIn Premium, so I could actually see some of the salary ranges there. And in Ireland, I would have benchmarked companies like KPMG to see what the salaries were. But in this instance, I used ChatGPT for when I moved here, and I will share my screen. So I asked, can you help me negotiate a better salary and ask the right questions for a sales role in a startup? So it did help me with some information here, telling me to research the market, know your value, prioritize your needs, etc. And then I went a little bit further, and sorry, you can't see the rest of this. And I told them the salary that I had been on in Ireland. And I got a little bit more information. So apologies, it's not showing there, but it did give me a little bit of a range, but it wasn't as helpful as I'd hoped it was. I'll click in here. All right, it's not showing the other part, but basically it did give me like a little bit of a range, but not as helpful as it was. And as Anna Pauline said, using Glassdoor was a lot more beneficial than ChatGPT was, because they said they couldn't give me really a proper range.
Got it. So basically, in this side, on both sides, it can help you with asking the right questions, but not per se the right range, right? Or to get to concrete recommendation or data around that yet. Anna Pauline, you've hired her, our lovely candidate, but you also have to reject the many other candidates, right? That actually went through the process. Can it help you there, ChatGPT, to write something that is acceptable?
For sure. I used ChatGPT for writing good rejection letters. So I will share my screen again to show you how it helps me. So I said here, okay, I will hire this candidate. Can you please write me a nice rejection letter for all other candidates that are in the pipeline? And you will have to give it your goal, because my goal is to leave a positive feeling, but being realistic, because yeah, obviously they did not match as good as Marion did. And I want them to follow our career page and LinkedIn company page. Could you write me such a rejection letter? And I know ChatGPT, if you give it free range, it will write you whole stories with lots of paragraphs. And people like short emails. So I also give it a maximum of 5 paragraphs. And then what it does is it will write you this really nice rejection letter. The thing is that it always comes out too positive, because it says here, your experience and skills are impressive. And it says, it also says, maybe we will see you working with us in the future, something like that. And I thought, like, yeah, well, maybe we actually don't. So that was too positive for me. And then I had to refine the text. And in the end, what people want to know is, why are they being rejected? Generic rejection letters, yeah, that is really not being an advocate for your company. And you want to be truthful to the candidates as well, because they really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think one of the key things that we've seen also, you mentioned Glassdoor, and if we research the data on certain companies that we work with or start to work with, one of the biggest things that comes back as negatives is that candidates complain about the fact that they never get a real understanding of the why.
Exactly.
You know, why am I being rejected? And actually, a rejection is okay, but actually what you want to hear is, well, and where are my strengths? Where would that actually fit, right? So again, coming back to what is the actual reason why we apply for jobs is not to get any kind of job. You want a job where you strive. I love this picture of you, Marion. I think this is our head of product.
It is.
So this is your personalized report. And I think I skipped the first part, which is like a mirror of yourself, right? And you can learn things and get tips about how you can grow in certain directions. But I think the second piece is interesting because here you actually are being benchmarked to successful salespeople that have shown success in their jobs. And this is where the real feedback comes in, because now you can actually say, well, in this case, you're not being hired because we're really in need of somebody visionary, for example. Of course, in this case, you score quite high on everything, but that's not always the case. So here you can actually provide more valid feedback, and you can connect it to jobs where these competencies actually do are important. Marion, how has this helped you?
Yeah, I find it really interesting. I love that it gave a breakdown of the different competencies and helped me with interview prep as well, so I could hone in on my strong areas, but as well as looking at the development areas and what I need to do to more develop myself in those areas. So I really, really loved it. It was really enjoyable to do as well, and very different than other assessments I'd done in the past. And I didn't find it overly long, and I really liked the visual element of the report as well.
Yeah, and you got your dream job. So it's, time. Anna-Pauline,
I just wanted to add that I've sent these reports to candidates that have been rejected. And they all loved it. They really thanked me because they can use it in their further steps in their career. So also what I got is when they didn't receive it or anything, then they just came and asked me while they were rejected. So yeah, I think that's a good sign as well. Yeah, so that's the outcome on the rejected candidates receiving such a report. Yeah.
Nice. Let's move to the poll, because this was the last round on negotiation. So we will actually see who wins, unless everyone thinks this is a tie. And then you both go home happy. So let's vote. And then we'll dive into a couple of questions from the audience before we round off the webinar. It's a tie. Okay, good. Nice. Well, so we end up all happy going back. Going back to the Q&A, I see a couple of questions in the chat. Let's see. Are there any GDPR related considerations by sharing individual CV on ChatGPT?
Yes. And I would like to add, I just did this to show you the example. Normally what I would do is strike all the personal details like address. I didn't copy them in, I believe, but yeah, I wouldn't do that. So always keep in mind that that you will have to work conform GDPR. Yeah. I also saw the question about being inclusive. I totally agree. And if you let ChatGPT write you your vacancy text based on GPT-3, I didn't test GPT-4 yet, then what you will get is a non-inclusive vacancy text. And that is another reason why you should really write it yourself. In this example, I was looking for an office manager. I was asked to hire a woman because the office was all men. So they just wanted to even out more the balance between men and women. So, and obviously you are not allowed to look for a woman per se. But yeah, we all know that we use some kind of words that will appeal to the profile that you are looking for. So yeah, and the goal was to balance the equality in the office. So that is why.
I think here, maybe if I can comment from a para standpoint, I think why we built this Periscope and the digital interview is actually to get away from gender, ethnicity, age, which is actually the most discriminating factor in the Netherlands, by the way, and to give everyone a fair opportunity to be recognized and selected for the competencies that someone has and that are needed to success in a certain job than anything else. And I think that's where the diversity and inclusion angle comes in, because then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you come from and what you did in the past, particularly also in roles where people are hired with more experience. Headhunters usually think in certain boxes. Oh, I need someone from this industry. Well, we all now have seen in the data that we've collected over 7 years that certain impact is not per se driven by the fact that you have experience in certain industries. So we have the data to back that up, and you have to actually ensure that you assess people for, again, the competencies that drive impact rather than anything else that has happened in the past. And I think technology can help you there. It can add value to that, to make it like a blind audition, let's call it. Looking at the time, I see that the time is up. We love to ask you, because again, this is our 5th webinar. We like to also ask you about the next webinar topic. So if you want to leave some comments in the chat regarding that, there are ideas around D&I. We want to maybe talk about how do you leverage AI in recruitment? How can you create more impact by AI? So let us know in the comments if there are certain topics that you would love us to chat about and get experts around, and we'll make sure that we see you, I would say, in the next months. Thanks a lot to the candidate, Marion. Thanks a lot to the recruiter and Pauline for this really lovely battle. And
thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, all. Bye.